Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Better late than never. Look at you guys, all good little kidlings. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Let's get some sound on this bitch.
Republicans versus Democrats. Biden was on the beach while those people were suffering. He was asked about it. He said no comment. Are you kidding me? As somebody that's handled disasters in Florida, you got to be activated. You got to be there. You got to be present. You got to be helping people who are doing this. And here's the deal.
You guys have sound?
Is that a yes? Is that a hand raise?
You do not. I think it was a hand raise for him, and it's my hands are in my pockets.
No. I didn't raise a hand.
Let us be honest as Republicans. I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax.
This is somebody else streaming it, by the way.
And the reality is, the anti-carbon agenda is the wet blanket on our economy. And so the reality is, more people are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor Haley, are you bought and paid for?
Hold on.
Heat index is 121.
I gotta find another stream.
I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here. The last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack
way
Obama.
to do it.
And I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
It is low.
Hold on. Governor Haley, would you like to respond? Are you bought and paid for?
What I would like to say is the fact that I think this is exactly why Margaret Thatcher said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Woo! Get it, girl.
She pulled the card out.
Get it, girl.
First of all, we do care about clean air, clean water. We want to see that taken care of, but there's a right way to do it. And the right way to do it is, first of all, yes, is climate change real? Yes, it is. But if you want to go and really change the environment, then we need to start telling China and India that they have to lower their emissions. That's where our problem is. And these green subsidies that Biden has put in, all he's done is help China, because he doesn't understand all these electric vehicles that he's done, what that does. Half of the batteries for electric vehicles are made in China. And so that's not.
All right, hold on. Let me fix this.
You're putting money in China's pocket, and Biden did that. So
by poverty,
all,
devastated by the challenges of life, I came to the conclusion that America can do for anyone what she's done for me if we focus on restoring hope, creating opportunities, and protecting America. If we want the environment to be better, and we all do, the best thing to do is to bring our jobs home from China. If we create 10 million new jobs in my Made in America plan, we will have a better economy and a better environment. Let me tell you why I say that, Brett. America,
Do it quickly.
America has cut. I'm a Southern boy, I talk slow. So America.
Another one.
That was quick. America has cut our carbon footprint in half in the last 25 years. The places where they are continuing to increase, Africa, 950 million people. India, over 1 billion. China, over 1 billion. Why would we put ourselves at a disadvantage? Devastating our own economy. Let's bring our jobs home.
We have a lot of different topics to get to.
Yeah, we do. We thank you all. Thank you, Senator Scott. So coming up next, the candidates will weigh in on what could be.
Wow. Okay. Well, as we promised, what we're going to do is while they go to commercial, we're going to listen to a little bit of Trump here, but there were some serious bangers there. If you want to go back and listen.
All right. This dude's going to be playing some Trump. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to follow this one, I guess. This is Meet Kevin. Let's see what Trump's got to say. He's going back and forth, dude. We're getting the best of both worlds here. Here we go.
And here we go.
That he did, but there are those people, there are many people, I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
This is back to Epstein.
The closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at
This
all.
is about
I
Epstein.
believe everything I hear. But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah,
And
he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and the case could be made. Look,
Bring
I'm
it
not
on,
going to get
woman.
involved in it, but I can tell you, a case could be made either way. But it certainly wasn't the most well-run place.
So the reason I'm asking you is I'm looking at the trajectory since 2015 when you got into
thank you,
politics,
guys.
for real, and then won. It started with protests against you, massive protests, organized protests by the left, and then it moved to impeachment twice,
right?
And now indictment. I mean, the next stage is violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you? Honestly,
All right.
They're savage animals.
I really don't want to hear that. I mean, I don't care either way. I'm waiting for the debate to come back. Thank you for joining me. I'm sorry that I was late. It's been a long day. But we are here. I just want to hear like the main parts of it. You guys may or may not know I live in Florida. So DeSantis is my governor, and it's pretty interesting to see. He's in the debates. Hello, Jammers. Hello, Shell.
So is that a joint?
Thank you, Shell. You guys are super chatting trainings or whatever, super train chat, whatever the hell it's called. I can't even speak. Thank you. Look at this. I got to get my alert box fixed. Hold up. Let me get it on top. Because this shit's bananas. Sorry that we missed the beginning. I'm sure you guys were watching it on your own. I don't like any of them either, cray. I'm curious because I'm an American and I'm a human. But yeah, so Trump released this. He's like, I'm not going to the debates because I'm going to be at home being a little baby. So he stayed home, and instead of doing the debates, he's releasing this interview with Tucker that they did. So this is what this dude's playing, Mike or whatever his name is. Kathy Parker, Florida in the house. And how many people have Grays in the house? Me. Pez, want to know who's ruining our country next? We want to know who to not like, right? Nanya. You can definitely get a flute solo. Just for you.
So is that a joint? Or is it a cigar?
Kendi, CR, Shell, and Amber, thank you so much. Yes, it was pre-recorded with Tucker. And then they decided to release it at the same time. So let's see what else they're saying.
I hope they like me too. A lot of people say they don't like me, but they like I think they like me.
Mike Stanner, thank you.
I have never seen spirit like it is right now.
Coke
and
Zero.
The reason is because crooked Joe Biden is so bad. He's the worst president in the history of our country.
He's so bad.
I don't think he's going to make it to the gate, but you never know. But he's a corrupt person, so corrupt that I took the name off Hillary. I don't do two people at one time. I took the crooked Hillary and I retired the name. That was a good day for her. I bet she was very happy. And I used it for Joe because it's crooked Joe. But Joe is really.
But you don't think he's going to make it to November of 2020?
Well, I think he's worse mentally than he is physically. And physically, he's not exactly.
We're going to come back to picking up on that. The debate is back. Here we
go.
State referendums all have upheld abortion rights.
And remember how we're doing this. So we're talking abortion as the topic now. In the commercials, we watch Trump.
That are coming up as we head into the elections as well on this. So, Governor Haley, what do you say to your party and to your state, which today confirmed a 6-week abortion law as well, especially the impact on women suburban voters across this country?
Thank you, Martha. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children. So I'm surrounded by blessings. Having said that, we need to stop demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal because it's personal for every woman and man. Now it's been put in the hands of the people. That's great. When it comes to a federal ban, let's be honest with the American people and say it will take 60 Senate votes. It will take a majority of the House. So in order to do that, let's find consensus. Can't we all agree that we should ban late-term abortions? Can't we all agree that we should encourage adoptions? Can't we all agree that doctors and nurses who don't believe in abortion shouldn't have to perform them? Can't we all agree that contraception should be available? And can't we all agree that we are not going to put a woman in jail or give her the death penalty if she gets an abortion? Let's treat this like a respectful issue that it is and humanize the situation and stop demonizing the situation.
Brett, what do you guys think?
Very good. She's very professional.
What'd you guys think of that?
Fantastic answers.
6-week abortion ban in Florida.
There's Ron.
One of your biggest financial backers said
He's not
that
gonna
you need to
support
quote,
abortion.
shift to get moderates or you will lose. What do you say to him and others who say politically that is a tough thing to sell nationally?
Well, I would say we sold the biggest election landslide victory in the history of the Republican Party in the state of Florida in 2022. That's what I did. We can win. But second of all, look, you got to do what you think is right. I believe in a culture of life. I was proud to sign the heartbeat bill. I remember one of the most impactful moments of my life was when I heard the heartbeat of my oldest daughter in my wife's womb and then saw the sonograms of all 3 of my kids. What the Democrats are trying to do on this issue is wrong, to allow abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. I know a lady in Florida named Penny. She survived multiple abortion attempts. She was left discarded in a pan. Fortunately, her grandmother saved her and brought her to a different hospital. We're better than what the Democrats are selling. We are not going to allow abortion all the way up till birth, and we will hold them accountable for their extremism.
But just to be clear, Governor, would you sign a 6-week ban federally?
The second time he has not answered questions.
Of life. Look, I understand Wisconsin is going to do it different than Texas. I understand Iowa and New Hampshire are going to do different.
Answer the
but
question.
I will support the cause of life as governor and as president.
Vice President Pence, you're shaking your head.
We must have a national.
Hold on, Senator. Vice President Pence, you're shaking your head. What?
Well, look, I'm not new to this cause. After I gave my life to Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, I opened up the book and I read, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And see, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life. And I knew from that moment on, the cause of life had to be my cause. And I've been a champion for life in the Congress, a champion for life as governor and as vice president. And to be honest with you, Nikki, you're my friend, but consensus is the opposite of leadership. When the Supreme Court returned this question to the American people, they didn't just send it to the states only. It's not a states only issue, it's a moral issue. And I promise you, as President of the United States, the American people will have a champion for life in the Oval Office. Can't we have a minimum standard in every state in the nation that says when a baby is capable of feeling pain, an abortion cannot be allowed? A 15-week ban is an idea whose time has come. It's supported by 70% of the American people, but it's going to take unapologetic leadership that stands on principle and expresses compassion for women in crisis pregnancies. I'll do that as President of the United States.
He called my name, so I will respond to that. 30 seconds. So first of all, I will say it is in the hands of the people, and that's where it should be. But when you're talking about a federal ban, be honest with the American people. We haven't had 45 pro-life senators in over 100 years. So no Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president could ban all those state laws. Don't make women feel like they have to decide on this issue when you know we don't have 60 Senate votes in the House.
70% of the American people support legislation
but
to ban
70%
abortion
of the
after
Senate
a baby is
does
capable
not.
of experiencing pain.
This
is going to take leadership.
Hold on.
70% of the Senate does
bringing
not.
it.
You have to be honest with the
We have to
American
have
people.
a 15-week
All right,
limit.
let's get Governor Bergman for one minute here. But the Supreme Court did overturn Roe v. Wade. And the result of that decision was that it went back to the states. So that's where it is right now. So as I understand it, you are not in favor of a
He has
federal
bushy
ban.
eyebrows.
What do you say about the states? There's about 5 of them, including New Jersey, I think a few others, that allow abortion up until the time of birth, though? If you were president, would you be able to abide that?
Well, first of all, I'm a pro-life governor of a very pro-life state. And this issue is, of course, very important. But I am on the record, and I stand behind that we should not have a federal abortion ban. We should not. And the reason why we shouldn't is very simple. It's the 10th Amendment in the Constitution. In the Constitution, which the states created the federal government, not the other way around, it says that there were certain duties allowed to the federal government delegated to them by the states. The rest are left to the states, comma, or importantly, or to the people. We need to get back to freedom and liberty for the people in this country. And we can't have Republicans who fight for 50 years for this great cause and to return it back to the states. And then the next day they turn around and go, no, the feds should do that, because the feds are stepping into people's lives. They're stepping into people's businesses over and over. If we say that the feds should be in on this one, where do we stop? I say that we follow the Constitution, and this is returned to the states. This is where it should be.
But Governor Burgum, you signed a 6-week ban. Time out.
He's the governor of what state?
Governor Burgum, you signed a 6-week ban. So you're saying federally, it's all going to go to the states.
Yes, and what is going to work in New York will never work in North Dakota, and vice versa. That's why we have 50 states. That's why 50 states.
This is too important of an issue that I have to address. First of all, the Supreme Court gave it back to the elected representatives, whether it's the states or whether it's the United States Congress. So there is authority, and that's why President Biden is pushing for a Democrat proposal, which is, in essence, abortion on demand through the term. So they have their extreme position at a national level. It's most likely going to be addressed in the states, but it's certainly fine for it to be addressed at the national level as well. Arkansas has the record of being the most pro-life state in the nation. I signed 30 pro-life pieces of legislation while I was governor. And every state can determine a different outcome here. And it is the most important issue for women and for the unborn child and for our country that we get this right. It's going to be a continued debate. Let's talk about it in terms of compassion, in terms of protecting the life, and also understanding how we have to enhance adoption services, how we have to enhance maternal care. Those things we've done in Arkansas and are important for our nation's future.
There are a lot of issues that are very important. Senator, I'll let you.
I can't stand when old men talk about abortion.
Like California, New York, and Illinois have abortions on demand up until the day of birth. That is immoral. It is unethical. It is wrong. We must have a president of the United States who will advocate and fight for, at the minimum, a 15-week limit. I am 100% pro-life conservative. I have 100% pro-life record. I got to tell you, though, we must fight for life. Our Declaration of Independence says our Creator gave us inalienable rights that include life. That is a list. That is an issue we must solve. We can't leave it to Illinois. We can't leave it to Minnesota. We can't leave it to Illinois. We must solve that issue with a 15-week limit at a minimum.
Brett, I think we're all pro-life.
California's at like 20, and New York's at like 24. To say up to
okay, I want to hear her. Come
unless there's
on.
threat to the mother's life.
For 40 weeks, because that's what the media needs to be asking.
All right, another issue.
Nobody's saying 40 weeks unless somebody's going to die.
Homelessness crisis. American cities are in decline. People are moving out as homelessness, drugs, crime move in.
Vivek didn't answer on this. Interesting. Abortion.
During the pandemic and are still rising, actually.
Murders in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, all up 30% between 2019 and 2022. Homelessness is up 11%, the largest jump in recorded history. Vice President Pence, a lot of this began in the COVID era. How much of what we're seeing happening around this country is a result of those COVID lockdowns? And is your administration in part to blame for how we got here?
Well, I think what's in part to blame is the Democrats been talking about defunding the police for the last 5 years. And we ought to be funding law enforcement, particularly in our major cities, at unprecedented levels. I mean, it's extraordinary to think about the violence that's
He got no claps on that.
literally every week in every major city in this country. And yet Democrats and liberal prosecutors in major metropolitan areas continue to work out their fanciful agendas, to do bail reform and go easy. What we need is strong commitment to law enforcement. We need leadership in Washington, D.C. that'll marshal the resources of the states, marshal the resources of the American people. But let me also say it's about opportunity. I mean, a lot of people don't know that those Trump-Pence tax cuts that we got signed into law go away at the end of 2025 if we don't have a Republican president and a Republican House and a Republican Senate. When I'm president of the United States, we're actually going to cut taxes further. We're going to extend those tax cuts, and we're going to close the Federal Department of Education, block grant all that funding back to the states with a growing economy and educational.
Oh my God, yada yada. You're
law enforcement. We will bring our cities back.
Governor Christie, another issue
like
this
Pence
weekend
either.
here in Milwaukee. Reports say there were 30 shootings, and a number of them including kids. Add that to the big increase in school shootings around the country. Democrats blame this crisis on easy access to guns. They also blame Republicans for blocking gun control legislation. What would President Christie do?
You know, I'm proud of the fact, Brett, that I'm the only person along with Governor Hutchinson up on this stage
Not
who's
crazy
actually
about him either.
running United States Attorney's Office. I ran the 5th largest office in America in a state where there is significant urban crime. And the problem is not going to be solved by more money. The problem is that these prosecutors in these localities in the states are refusing to do their job and to arrest violent criminals. So what President Christie would do is appoint an attorney general who would instruct each of the 93 U.S. attorneys that they are to take over the prosecution of violent crime in every one of those cities that are failing to do so. We have plenty of room in the federal prisons to lock up these violent criminals and clean up what's going on all across this country in these individual cities. Secondly, what we need to make sure that each and every one of these criminals understand is that the laws apply to everybody. And when Hunter Biden fills out a fake application, a false application for a gun permit, and then is facing a 10-year mandatory minimum, which was mandated by legislation sponsored by his father. And then you have a Justice Department that walks away from those charges. We're telling people that the law doesn't apply to everybody. In a Christie administration, he would go to jail for 10 years.
What about a President Ramaswamy?
Did he just say the wall?
Do about guns?
So the reality is we have a crime wave in this country and we know how to fix it. The question is, do we actually have the spine to do it? More cops in the streets who are on the streets able to do their jobs without looking over their shoulder for getting sued. And we also have a mental health epidemic in this country. Just over the same period that we have closed mental health institutions, we have seen a spike in violent crime. Do we have the spine to bring them back? I think we should. As president, I will. But it's not just drugging up people in those psychiatric institutions with Zoloft and Seroquel. It's a deeper issue. I think faith-based approaches can play a role here too. We're in the middle of a national identity crisis. And I say this as a member of my generation. The problem in our country right now, the reason we have that mental health epidemic is that people are so hungry for purpose and meaning at a time when family, faith, patriotism, hard work have all disappeared. What we really need is a tonal reset from the top, saying that this is what it means to be an American. Yes, we will stand for the rule of law. Yes, we will close the southern border where criminals are coming in every day. And yes, we will back law enforcement because we remember who we really are. And that's also how we address that mental health epidemic in the next generation that is directly leading to violent crime across this country.
Governor DeSantis, really quickly. Governor DeSantis.
We don't have an identity crisis with that. We're not looking for a new national identity. The American people are the most faith-filled, freedom-loving, idealistic, hardworking people the world has ever known. We just need government as good as our people.
Well, Mike, I think the difference is you might have, some others like you may have on the stage, it's Morning in America speech. It is not Morning in America. We live in a dark moment, and we have to confront the fact that we're in an internal, sort of cold cultural civil
You
war.
are
And we have to
equating the
recognize
American
that in
people
order
with the
to actually
failed
win.
government in Washington, D.C. We just need government as good as our people again.
So, let me just finish addressing that slogan.
Oh my
because I don't know what that
God.
slogan means. We need to shut down the administrative state. Mark, that's actually how we translate it.
Crime has been on the rise in Florida, Governor DeSantis.
Vivek did not answer on guns, by the way.
Well, actually, crime's at a 50-year low
Not
in
in-
Florida.
not in
we're
Miami.
happy with that. Well, the statewide, it's a 50-year low. And so here's the thing. These hollowed out cities, this is a symptom of America's decline. And one of the biggest reasons is because you have George Soros funding these radical left-wing district attorneys. They get into office and they say they're not going to prosecute crimes they disagree with. The inmates start running the asylum. There's one guy in this entire country that's ever done anything about that. Me. When we had 2 of these district attorneys in Florida elected with Soros funding who said they wouldn't do their job, I removed them from their posts. They are gone. And as president, we are going to go after all of these people because they are hurting the quality of life and they are victimizing innocent people in every corner of this country. And it will stop when I get into office.
Okay, one more here before the break, Governor Bergen.
Oh, they're going to have a break soon.
Brett and Martha, I just thought it was interesting. You asked your question about the problems we're having in big cities. Nobody ever asked the question of what about the crime wave in small towns? Because in a small town, neighbors help neighbors. People understand each other. If a farmer gets sick, everybody comes together and helps them get the crop off. There's accountability. There's transparency. One thing that I think this country could use is somebody in the White House that understands small town values, because that's our road back to get this country on track again.
Governor Hutchinson?
Sorry. As former head of the DEA, I understand the drug crisis in America. And right now, whenever you look at the challenges in our inner city, there's 3 simple words that would be helpful. 1, enforce the law when it comes to crime. Secondly, let's deal with the challenge of fentanyl. And it's both about stopping the fentanyl coming from Mexico, but it's also about education of our young people, making sure that we have the tools that are needed for addiction counseling. That's what we expanded in Arkansas as well. Whenever you look at the underlying challenge of America, though, no one likes to see an America with smash and grab in our inner cities.
Welcome, globalism's hubby, Gabriel.
That will stop. It starts at the top with the respect for our justice system that a former president who's under indictment has undermined by attacking judges, by attacking prosecutors, by attacking the system and saying he's aggrieved. And so we have to have respect for our justice system and the rule of law, and it starts at the top with the President of the United States.
Brett,
Thank you. Hold
Take a
on.
break.
Brett.
So, speaking of that, right now you are looking live at Fulton County Jail, where former President Donald Trump will be processed tomorrow. So next, the candidates will have an opportunity to talk about the coming trials of Donald Trump.
All right, speaking of Donald Trump, we are going to, as usual, in the commercial breaks, hop back on over to listen to Donnie T.
Exactly.
This is, by the way, Donald Trump talking about Biden's mental health being worse than his physical health.
A triathlete or any kind of an athlete, you look at him, he can't walk to the helicopter. He walks, he can't lift his feet out of the grass. You know, it's only 2 inches at the White House, right? It's not a lot. But you watch him and it looks like he's walking on toothpicks. So, and then you see him on the beach where he can't lift a chair. You know, those chairs are meant to be light, right? They're like 2 ounces. You lift them up. He can't lift the chair. He can't walk to the chair. And I don't know what they're doing with the beach. You know, this beach is seeming to play a big role, but they love pictures of him on the beach. I think he looks terrible on the beach.
Where's his blonde hair?
Skinny legs.
Well, he can't walk through the sand. You know, sand is not that easy to walk through, but when he walks through it, he can't walk through the sand. And there's somebody in there that thinks he looks fabulous at the beach. I think he looks horrible at the beach.
Horrible?
Plus, the beach doesn't represent what a president's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be working. He's supposed to be getting us out of that horrible war that we're very much involved in with Russia.
DeSantis made this similar argument. Remember, he also slammed Biden for being on the beach and not responding to the disaster.
A bigger shit show than I ever
And
thought it
Ukraine,
would
you
be.
could do that. You could do that very easily. I believe you could do that I don't believe he could do it because he's just incompetent. but that's a war that should end immediately, not
had a
because of
tone.
one side or the other, because hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. Can you imagine you're in an apartment house and rockets are going into that building and blowing it up and knocking it down? And
terrible.
Who can? Why should anything? Why should anybody? Human beings, these are human, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian or whatever they are. It's got to be stopped, and it can be stopped very easily. It would have never started if I were president. It would have never started.
So back to Biden, I'm interested. So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody. But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons, the candidate. She has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse, actually.
Yeah.
But
She seems pretty
Cloned or no?
She speaks in.
You guys
in
think
rhyme.
that he's cloned?
It's weird.
No.
It's weird. But she has bad moments. And
in rhyme? What do you?
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States future. And I think they probably have some kind of a primary. And
Biden called Obama rap rock.
Newsom, right? I mean,
could be. I mean, you know, I always got along well with him, believe it or not. But could be him, could be somebody else. He's got a big load on his shoulders because you look at California, what's happened. But I don't know if the American people really, the people that vote for him, I don't even know if they care. You know, you look at so many of the things that are going on, and people don't seem to be. In the old days, if you had a bad record, it meant a lot. Today, if you have a bad record, it doesn't really mean anything. You know, he looks good. He's a nice looking guy, speaks well. But Biden, every time you watch him talking, it's like he's walking on eggs. You're waiting for
He's
him.
walking on toothpicks, whatever the hell that means. All right, I can only listen to this for so long before it starts to sound like Eduardo.
I heard Eduardo with like a G.
Nomadic Geo says we need a strong female candidate. Just saying, I'm sick of the same old rhetoric from old white men. Oh, excuse me. From old white men so out of touch with the reality of this country. I agree. I don't think it's a clone. If they're going to clone Biden, they should at least clone him with someone who can walk, right? But what does that mean, walking on toothpicks? And then Tucker's like, skinny legs.
I think they can believe
So when they
it.
come back to the debate, I think they're going to be talking about Trump. Donnie T.
They respected me. They had great respect for our country when I was there. Every one of them. Look, if you go to
Dress shoes, maybe.
North Korea, you take a look at what happened. You know, the Olympics was dead. South Korea spent.
You ever
billions on the
seen
Olympics. Nobody was going to go. They didn't want to get blown up.
Did you see Zelensky in heels?
Oh.
Debate policy discussions the Americans want to hear you all on. China, Ukraine, immigration, education. But we are going to take a brief moment and talk about the elephant not in the room.
Former President
elephant
Trump
not
has
in the
been
room.
indicted in 4 different states on 91 counts. He will be processed tomorrow in Georgia at the Fulton County Jail for charges relating to the 2020 election loss.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee.
Thanks, Mike.
If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
Vivek. Wow. Scott. DeSantis. Pence. Slowly. Christie.
DeSantis.
So just be clear.
He wants to be his running mate.
You were kind of late to the game there, but you raised your hand.
No, I'm doing this. Look, I'm doing this.
And
not
I know
this.
you didn't.
Whoa. No.
What's
And
the
then look, here's the bottom line. Someone's got to stop normalizing this conduct.
What conduct?
Okay? Now,
what's he talking about?
And now whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong, the conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States. And you know, this is the great thing about this country. Booing is allowed, but it doesn't change the truth. It doesn't change the truth.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you raised your hand supporting.
Dang.
I'd like to get in and respond. Let's just speak the truth, okay? President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century. It's a fact. And Chris Christie, honest to God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign were not based on vengeance and grievance against one man.
Oh!
And if people at home want to see a bunch of people blindly bashing Donald Trump without an iota of vision for this country, they could just change the channel to MSNBC right now. But I'm not running for president of MSNBC.
Look at this guy's head.
President of the United States. We're skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent where the party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It is wrong. We have to end the weaponization of justice.
What the
fuck?
You know, let me tell you,
I'm sorry. 30 seconds covered.
You make me laugh because
Goes
you
both
sit,
ways, brother.
you sit here in an answer. You sit here in an answer right.
What the fuck?
You sit here in an answer.
Go ahead,
Hold
Governor
on,
Christie.
Hold on, Governor Christie.
Hold on.
He got shut up. Well, so listen, the more time we spend doing this, the less time they can talk about issues you want to talk about. So let's just get through this.
What is this we're watching?
You sit here talking about how you want to stand up for the rule of law.
Yes.
And law and order. And the fact is that it can't be selective. In your book, you had much different things to say about Donald Trump than you're saying here tonight.
That's not true.
No, it is very true.
That is not
It's
true.
very true. I read it,
Because
and I
there's a
know.
difference
Look,
between
I
bad
know.
behavior and illegal
By the way,
behavior, Chris. And you as a prosecutor should know better.
Yeah, you know what? I know a lot
There's
better.
a difference between bad behavior.
And I know a lot better than you do. You've never done it like you've never done anything to try to advance the interests of this government except to put yourself forward as a candidate tonight. And here's the thing. We've stood up for law and order. I did it as U.S. attorney. I did it as governor. And I am not going to bow to anyone when we have a president of the United States who disrespects the Constitution. He said,
Family Feud.
He said, Martha, it's important to
This
say
is
that the
embarrassing.
president said,
This is
Donald Trump
embarrassing.
said, it's okay to suspend the Constitution. Now, the oath you take is to preserve, protect, and defend, not suspend. I will always stand up for our Constitution, regardless of the political pressure.
We have another question for you. We're going to get everyone in on this issue, but I have another question. I have another question. Hold on, you will.
Will they pledge to go regal?
So, President Trump's former vice president is on this stage tonight. He has faced hecklers on the campaign trail over his actions on January the 6th. On that day, the vice president moved forward with the certification of the election. So do you believe that Mike Pence did the right thing, Senator Scott? Do you believe he did the right thing?
Absolutely. He did the right thing. Number one. Number two, we should be asking ourselves a bigger question about the weaponization of the Department of Justice. When I'm president, the first thing I'll do is fire Merrick Garland. Second thing I'll do, fire Christopher Wray, because we need Lady Justice to wear a blindfold. Without that, no one has confidence in our justice system. 17% of Republicans have confidence in our Department of Justice. Here's why. We keep seeing not only the weaponization of the Department of Justice against political opponents, but also against parents who show up at school board meetings. They're called, under this DOJ, they're called domestic terrorists.
Firing Christopher Wray,
that's not it. But that's not
shut
it.
down the FBI. Actually have the courage to get it right.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
Let me finish my comments.
Yes.
Not only that, in addition to that, we see the SWAT team show up at pro-life activist homes with guns drawn, because this DOJ uses their power, uses their authority, not just against political opponents, but against conservatives and conservative causes. It is time for a change in America, and I will bring that change to the greatest nation on God's green earth.
Jesus.
We have an important
But Governor
question to
DeSantis, do you
answer.
believe that Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th?
So here's what we need to do. We need to end the weaponization of these federal agents.
But that's not
I
the
will do
question.
that.
That's not the question.
I know, but here's the thing.
answer the
This
question?
election
I know,
is not
but
about
I make the
January
rules.
6th of 2021. It's about January 20th of 2025 when the next president is going to take office. I know what the Democrats would like to do. They want to talk about all these other issues, but we've got to focus on your future. We've got to focus on reversing the decline of our country.
Right.
I learned in the military, I was assigned with U.S. Navy SEALs in Iraq, that you focus on the mission above all else. You can't get distracted. So Republicans, we've got to look forward.
What was the
and we've got to
question?
make sure that we're bringing the message that can win in
Vice
November
President Pence,
2024.
That's my buzzer.
What do you think, Vice President? Is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I think the American people deserve to know whether everyone on this stage agrees that I kept my oath to the Constitution that day. There's no more important duty. So answer the question.
Got my buzzer in
I've
hand.
answered this before.
So yes.
Why are we? Mike did his duty. I got no beef with him. But here's the thing: is this what
Did
we're
he
going to be
say beef?
focusing on
I'm relieved.
going
We-
forward? The rehashing of this? I'll tell you,
Governor
the
DeSantis,
Democrats would love that,
we
and they
spent-
will win if we
Governor
let him get away
DeSantis,
with it. I'm not letting Biden hang out in the basement this time. We're going to let him get around this country, and we're going to hold him accountable.
Let me just say, Governor DeSantis, we spent an hour talking about policy. Former President Trump is beating you by 30, 40 points in many polls. So it is a factor in the GOP primary. Governor Hutchinson, you did not raise your hand.
I did not raise my hand because there's an important issue we as a party have to face. And over a year
We
ago,
as a
I said
party,
that Donald
I don't
Trump
know.
was morally disqualified from being president again as a
Welcome,
result of what
Pez.
happened on January 6th. More people are understanding the importance of that, including conservative legal scholars who says he may be disqualified under the 14th Amendment from being president again as a result of the insurrection. This is something that could disqualify him under our rules and under the Constitution. And so, obviously, I'm not going to support somebody who's been convicted of a serious felony or who is disqualified under our Constitution, and that's consistent with RNC rules. And I hope everybody would agree with
We're
me.
going to get to a lot more time.
We're going to move on. No, we're going to.
Martha, can I answer the question?
Can I get in on
Oh
Okay,
my
I'd like to answer-
God.
I've already been on
Hang
it,
in
Vice President Pence.
All right, I'd like to answer the question
Go
you
ahead.
asked and not give a pre-canned speech. Mike Pence
Pull it down below your
stood
chin
for the
and aim it at your
Constitution,
chin.
and he deserves not grudging credit. He deserves our thanks as Americans for putting his oath of office and the Constitution of the United States before personal, political, and
The bottom
unfair
line
pressure.
is, hold on.
And the argument that we need.
I'm going to tell you the bottom line right here is that none of these motherfuckers up on this stage give one iota of fucks about me or you or this country. I can tell you that right the fuck now. This is crazy.
Deserves credit for it.
Okay.
This is fucking crazy.
Quick note, it seems like if you bag on Trump in this debate, you get massive boos.
Thing that day or not?
Thanks for letting us
I
know.
do think that Vice President Pence did the right thing. And I do think that we need to give him credit for that. But what I will also tell you is, look, I mean, when it comes to whether President Trump should serve or not, I trust the American people. Let them vote. Let them decide. But what they will tell you is that it is time for a new generational conservative leader. We have to look at the fact that 3/4 of Americans don't want a rematch between Trump and Biden. And we have to face the fact that Trump is the most disliked politician in America. We can't win a general election that way.
Dr. Berger?
Give Governor Berg an opportunity.
So is that a joint?
Happy to answer the question. Mike Pence did the right thing on January
Or is it a
6th.
cigar?
But I want to say you started off the top of this hour saying we're going to talk about China, Ukraine, education.
We are.
China is the number one threat to our country. And every minute that these 8 candidates spend talking about the past instead about the future is time that is just you know who loves it? Biden loves it, but China loves it when we're talking about the past.
Okay, as promised, we were going to spend a few questions on it, let people say what they wanted to say. And now, indeed, we are moving on to the subject.
The U.S. has committed nearly 77.
Can I speak on this issue? I was
You
kind of
did
involved.
you answered on this.
You did
You did
say
answer.
something.
Yeah.
We thought you were done, but you
No, I
please.
wasn't done.
Well, Mike, why don't you say this? Join me
Yeah.
in making a commitment that on day one you would pardon Donald Trump. I'm the only candidate on the stage who had the courage to actually say it. That is how we move our nation forward
I don't know
and
why
turn the
you
page
assume that
forward. That's
Donald
exactly
Trump
right.
will be convicted of these crimes.
You should be able to make a commitment. The same justice system that was this
Here's
corrupt.
the difference between you and me.
Yeah, I'm not a professional politician. That's the difference. Who can answer a question?
I've actually given pardons when I was governor of the state of Indiana. It usually follows a finding of guilt and contrition by the individual that's been convicted. So, if I'm president of the United States, we'll give fair consideration to any pardon request. But if I may,
It's cut his mind.
you know, it's not about looking back at January 2021. It's about January 20th, 2017. I put my left hand on Ronald Reagan's Bible. I raised my right hand. I took an oath.
Ronald
support and defend the
Reagan's
Constitution of the United
Bible.
And it ended with a prayer.
Like
So
Ron,
help
wait.
me God.
This guy needs to.
It was a promise that I made to the American people.
This guy's an asshole. Pence. I put my hand on Ronald Reagan's Bible. Like Ronald Reagan's Bible would somehow be any more fucking holier than anybody else's Bible. Fuck this. That's so stupid.
Earn this job and the confidence of the American people. Look, I've made it clear. I had hoped that the issues surrounding the 2020 election and the controversies around January 6th had not come to this, had not come to criminal proceedings.
That means stop
I would
talking.
rather they have been resolved by the American people and the American people alone. But no one's above the law. And President Trump is entitled to the presumption of innocence that every American is entitled to. And we will
I
make
put
sure
my
to
hand
extend
on
that to
Reagan's
him.
Bible
The
because it's
American people
holier
deserve
than
to
everybody
know
else's.
That the president asked me in his request that I reject or return votes unilaterally, power that no vice president in American history had ever exercised or taken. He asked me to put him over the Constitution. And I chose the Constitution, and I always will. I had no right to overturn the election, and Kamala Harris will have no right to overturn the election when we beat them in 2024.
Thank you, Vice President Pence. Now we are moving on to other issues. The U.S. has committed nearly $77 billion in aid to the Ukraine war. The administration is now asking Congress for $24 billion more. Regardless of that, the specifics
Gone girl.
of that plan.
Spicy.
Is there anyone on stage who would not support the increase of more funding to Ukraine?
We would
not support it.
Europe needs to step up. I mean, I would have Europe step up and do their job.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
Vivek is strong with that hand raise. Very smart.
Governor DeSantis?
I will have Europe pull their weight.
Oh,
Right
he's
now, they're
talking
not
to you,
doing
Europe.
it, and I think we need to do. And I think our support should be contingent on them doing it. And I would have support in China to be able to take.
He's going to be Trump's running mate, this dude, I bet
do
you.
what we need to do with China.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine?
I would not. And I think that this is disastrous, that we are protecting against an invasion across somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States of America. We are driving Russia further into
How tall do you
China's
think this guy
hands.
is?
The Russia-China alliance is the single greatest threat we face. And I find it offensive that we have professional politicians on the stage that will make a pilgrimage to Kyiv, to their Pope, Zelensky, without doing the same thing for people in Maui or the south side of Chicago
See, I like
or
that.
Kensington. I think that we have to put the interests of Americans first, secure our own border instead of somebody else's. And the reality is, this is also how we project strength by making America strong.
Look,
I did go to Ukraine, and I went to Ukraine because I wanted to see for myself what Vladimir Putin's army was doing.
He wanted to wear
the
heels
free
with
Ukrainian
Zelensky.
people.
Let's face it.
And let me tell you, I want you all to look around this arena tonight and imagine that every one of these seats was filled. And if every one of them was filled, there would still be 2,500 more children outside to make over 20,000 who have been abducted, stolen, ripped from their mothers.
Bullshit. What about here? What about here, motherfucker?
To be programmed
what about
to
the
fight
kids
their own
here
families.
that are taken?
They have gouged out people's eyes, cut off their ears, and
fuck out of here.
shot people in the back of the head, men, and then gone into those homes and raped the daughters
fuck up.
and the wives who were left as widows and orphans. This is the Vladimir Putin. This is the Vladimir Putin who Donald Trump called brilliant and a genius. If we don't stand up against this type of autocratic killing in the world, we will be next.
You were mentioned.
Governor Haley, we'll come back.
Vice President Pence was mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, let me be clear. Anybody that thinks that we can't solve the problems here in the United States and be the leader of the free world has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth.
That is incorrect.
We can do both, Vivek. We've done both. We've been
Rattlesnakes,
the leader of the free
moccasins,
world and the arsenal of democracy for
alligators.
years. The Reagan doctrine years ago made it clear. We said, if you're willing to fight the communists on your soil, we'll give you the means to fight them there so our troops don't have to fight them. Vivek, if we do the
I wish we
giveaway
could too.
that you want to give to Putin to give him his land, it's not going to be too long before he rolls across a NATO border. And frankly, our men and women of our armed forces are going to have to go and fight him. I want to let the Ukrainians fight and drive Putin and the Russians back out into Russia.
I want to just briefly address that. Vice President Pence, I have a newsflash. The USSR does not exist anymore. It fell back in 1990. It's a real threat. You talked about the communists. And the real communists that we have to address
The
right now.
US, he's so right. I love that.
You already spoke. Now I actually have something to say.
Vladimir Putin has been saying he wants to reestablish the old Soviet sphere
You've made
of
your point,
influence.
Vice President.
Now, if you think I'm sorry if I insulted him by calling him a communist. He is a dictator and a murderer. And the United States of America needs to stand against.
He said the USSR, that shit was gone in the 90s.
Respond. The real threat we face today is communist China. And we are driving Russia further into China's arms. The Russia-China
I agree
military
with this
alliance
guy.
is the single greatest threat we face. Nobody in either political party is talking about it. And I am the only non-neocon on this.
I agree with that.
Keep us out of war.
Mr. Vice President, we can't hear. Mr. Vice President,
is to give Russia
Mr. Vice
everything
President.
they've got.
Mr. Vice President.
Give them a promise that Ukraine will never be in NATO, and then somehow
Mr. Vice
China
President.
will not think about taking Taiwan. We achieve peace through strength.
Mr. Vice
And
President.
America needs to stand for freedom.
Okay.
I guess.
Here we go.
I think we need to reestablish some ground rules
When
here,
we
folks.
hear this bell,
Yes.
that means your time's done.
Or this one.
So, Mr. Vice President, we appreciate your aggressiveness here. 30 seconds is 30 seconds. Mr. Ramaswamy, you were mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
So the reality is that today
I actually like him the best.
Ukraine is not a priority for the United States of America. And I think that the same people who took us into the Iraq War, the same people who took us into the Vietnam War, you cannot end it. You cannot start another no-win war. And I do not want to get to the point where we're sending our military resources abroad when we could be better using them here at home to protect our own borders, protect the homeland.
All right.
That will be my top priority in foreign policy.
I like that.
More than the 30
homeland.
seconds in the rebut. So I do want to get to some other people because everybody, we respect everybody's time here. So Governor Haley, you
Good
did
to
not
see
raise
you,
your hand,
Squids.
meaning that you would support more funding for the Ukraine war. You have said of Governor DeSantis that you didn't appreciate it when he initially called it a territorial dispute. Why?
First of all, the American president needs to have moral clarity. They need to know the difference between right and wrong. They need to know the difference between good and evil. Right. When you look at the situation with Russia and Ukraine, here you have a pro-American country that was invaded by a thug. So when you want to talk about what has been given to Ukraine, less than 3.5% of our defense budget has been given to Ukraine. If you look at the percentages per GDP, 11 of the European countries have given more than the US. But what's really important is go back to when China and Russia held hands, shook hands before the Olympics, and named themselves unlimited partners. A win for Russia is a win for China. We have to know that. Ukraine is the first line of defense for us. And the problem that Vivek doesn't understand is he wants to hand Ukraine to Russia. He wants to let China eat Taiwan. He wants to go and stop funding Israel. You don't do that to friends. What you do instead is you have the backs of your friends. Ukraine
What
is
about
the
our
front
people?
line of defense.
What about
Putin
the people?
has said, if once Russia takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. That's a world war. We're trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a pro-American country.
First of all,
Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 30 seconds. Mr. DeSantis,
Nikki, I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
You know, I'm not on
but
the
fact
boards
of the
of
matter,
Lockheed and Raytheon, and you know,
Boeing
you
came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie.
You've
been pushing this lie all week,
You want
Nikki.
to go and defund Israel? You want to
Okay,
give
let me
Taiwan
address
to
that.
China?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Go and give
I'm going to
Ukraine
address
Russia?
each of those.
He's got everybody ruffled. I like it. He's got her ruffled.
So the reality is,
America less safe. You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
and you know what? The
It
foreign
shows.
policy experience that you all have
What?
shows in the pointless wars we've gotten into. I have to address that. So our relationship with Israel will never be stronger than by the end of my first term. But it's not a client relationship. It is a friendship. And you know what friends do? Friends help each other stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what I love about Israel? And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about them? I love their border policies. I love their tough on crime policies. I love that they have a national identity and an iron dome to protect their homeland. And so, yes, I want to learn from the friends that we're supporting. And what puzzles me is, I want to learn from those and apply those to protect our homeland, Nikki.
Israel
that is
needs
the answer.
America. America needs Israel.
Okay,
They
Governor
are the front line of
Governor
defense to us.
DeSantis, you were mentioned at the territorial dispute. Not only
No, it's not a territorial
as
dispute
President of
either.
the United States, your first obligation is to defend our country and its people. And that means you're sending all this money, but you're not doing what we need to do to secure our own border. We have tens of thousands of people
We can
who
do
are
both
being
at the
killed because,
same
well, we're
time.
not handling
And
both.
we can do
And so
both
I am
at
going
the
to
same
declare it a national emergency. I'm not going to send troops to Ukraine, but I am going to send them to our southern border. When these drug pushers are bringing fentanyl across the border, that's going to be the last thing they do. We're going to use force, and we're going to leave them stone cold dead.
we're actually going to move on to China. We're going to talk about China.
Did he just say stone cold dead?
China has the biggest navy in the world, the biggest army in the world. Now they have warships off the coast of Alaska. They are threatening Taiwan. In coming years, China will have 1,500 nuclear warheads, it's believed. The U.S. just arrested 2 sailors accused of spying for China within our military. So the question is,
Spying for
how
China?
would you deter China as a president?
They want us to focus on Russia.
Well,
Russia
this
is not the
number one
problem,
issue
I
we're
don't
facing.
think.
And of course, we haven't been talking about it, and we act like that letting Russia win in the Ukraine is like a gimme as opposed to a gift to China. Russia has become China's gas station. But how would we do it? The Biden administration is a complete fail. China imports 10 million barrels of oil a day, more than any other country in the world. They do not even have all the food they need to feed everybody in that country. So they don't have energy security or food security. But the Biden administration sends Blinken, Yellen over there. They're over there. They don't even bring up energy because they're too busy trying to kill the U.S. energy here. And what we need to do is not meetings, not press releases, because something that would send a lot more than a press release is actually Harpoon missiles. We need anti-ship missiles on Taiwan. The way that you have a war never start, which is the goal, the way you have peace through strength,
Can't even
is
listen to
that
this
you
guy.
actually have strength.
You know what I really think though about Russia? I think that they have been so close to like doing things before us and have actually done things before us that's why our leaders see them as such a threat too. Like we've been spouting this Russia thing for how many years? Since the 50s? I mean, nothing ever happened. Nothing's going to happen. It's scare tactics. Ugh! I just buzzed myself.
Biden administration wanted to put 87,000 people in the IRS as opposed to giving the money and the support we need to our own border patrol.
Okay. Senator Scott on China.
Quick note, China currently has 400 nuclear warheads. The Pentagon does think that'll grow to 1,500 by 2035.
And hire or double the number of Border Patrol agents. I just left Yuma, Arizona about 2 weeks ago. The most pressing need of the American people from a national security standpoint is our southern border. It has led to the death of 70,000 Americans because of fentanyl, plus 6 million illegal crossings since President Biden has taken office, and 200 people on our national security watch list have been caught at our border. How many have not been caught at our southern border? If we just spend $10 billion, we could finish the wall. For $5 billion more, we could have the military-grade technology to surveil our southern border to stop the flow of fentanyl and save 70,000 Americans a year. That should be the priority of this government. And as the next president of the United States, I will make that border wall complete.
There are many more questions on China. I do want to ask about.
I want to say I couldn't agree more. It's not just the 70,000 from fentanyl. We've lost 200,000 people to overdoses since Biden took office.
You know what's bullshit is that our own CIA was bringing drugs here in the 80s. You think they're not doing it anymore? I say yes, they are. This whole, the borders, they're not going to do shit. Nothing's going to change. I don't believe anything's going to change. Because drugs are not only being brought in here over the border, but our own CIA has been involved in smuggling illegal drugs into this country. It's a big farce.
Vice President Pence, it really doesn't help. I'm asking a question. Earlier this month, images showed suspected cartel members crossing into Texas with rifles. Do you consider this an invasion? Would you authorize lethal force along that border?
There would be lethal force used by the Border Patrol, law enforcement as needed to protect the border. Absolutely. When you look at the military has to be used for intelligence gathering purposes. This is not unusual.
The war on drugs.
In the Bush administration, we went down there and met with President Vicente Fox of Mexico and asked his help in going after the cartels. And he looked at me and said, they're a problem to us as well. And so we joined together and we took down the Ariana Felix brothers leading the Tijuana cartel. And that made a difference. Ramon was shot and killed and Ben Amin was captured. Cooperation makes a difference. We cannot be successful going against the cartel unless we bring in Mexico.
We're not going
as a partner.
against any
we have to use
cartel.
economic
Lies.
pressure to accomplish that. President Obrador has not been helpful, and we have to use economic pressure that this administration is not using.
Lies.
The rule of law has to matter on both sides of it.
Okay.
This is critical. I've done it. We know what needs to be done. The military has to be limited in its use. When after 9/11, we had the global war on terror, and guess what? We protected the border at the same time. You can do both.
Okay, let's go to Governor DeSantis.
In the name of Jesus,
So, as
Father
president,
God, Lord.
would you support sending U.S. Special Forces over the border into Mexico to take out fentanyl labs, to take out drug cartel operations? Would you support that kind of American military use?
Yes, and I will do it on day one. Here's the thing. The cartels are killing tens of thousands of our fellow citizens. You want to talk about a country in decline? You have the cartels controlling a lot of part of your southern border. We have to reestablish the rule of law, and we have to defend our people. The President of the United States has got to use all available powers as Commander-in-Chief to to protect our country and to protect the people. So when they're coming across, yes, we're going to use lethal force. Yes, we reserve the right to operate. How many more tens of thousands are we going to let to die? I am sick. I've met angel moms throughout this country. I met a lady in Texas named Tracy, and her son took one Percocet that was laced with fentanyl.
It happens every day,
Immediately
DeSantis.
died. That is happening all across this
Well, no
country
shit.
because of the poison that they are bringing in. So as president, would I use force? Would I treat them as foreign terrorist organizations? You're darn right I would.
You know, Vice President Pence.
You're darn
He
right
answers,
I would.
But some things he just doesn't answer.
At this issue than Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis on the campaign trail refers to your administration as not finishing the wall.
Right. Look, we secured the southern border of the United States of America.
The
and
cartel
reduced
owns
illegal
that border.
immigration
Let's
and
face
asylum
it.
abuse by 90%. When Joe Biden took over, he threw open the southern border of the United States, and the wave of humanity, the wave of fentanyl that's been eloquently described here is a wave of human tragedy across this country. But Martha, you began this evening talking about who is best prepared to be the next president of the United States. And I have to tell you, with all humility, I was there when we negotiated through the government shutdown and got the funding available to build the wall. I was negotiating on Capitol Hill around the clock. I negotiated the Remain in Mexico policy on behalf of the President of the United States. And AC, you're so right. It's because we used economic pressure to bring the Mexicans to the table, and they allowed us to have people wait in Mexico while they applied for asylum and ended asylum abuse overnight. We got the Mexicans to deploy their National Guard to their southern border and to our southern border as never before. And I want to promise you, as President of the United States of America, I will engage Mexico the exact same way, and we will partner with the Mexican military, and we will hunt down and destroy the cartels that are claiming lives in the United States.
Sure
of
you
America.
will.
Another
Yeah,
issue that is related to this is that almost 7 million migrants have crossed this border, our southern border, during the Biden administration. So, Governor Christie, what would you do about the 7 million who are here? How would you handle them? What would you do?
Look, Martha, the first thing we need to do is to stop any more from coming. That's the first thing we need to do. Then the next thing we need to do with the folks that are here is to, again, as we've talked about all night tonight, we have to have law and order in this country. We have to enforce the law. And what that means is to make sure that people who come here illegally are not rewarded for being here illegally. We have so many wonderful people from around the world who are waiting in line, following the law to try to come here and pursue the American dream. And those people are waiting and waiting and waiting because we haven't dealt with the problem of the folks who are here. We have to have them detained. We have to make sure that they are not rewarded for having broken the law. And one last thing on this fentanyl issue. With China, we can't take our eye off of that ball. Right. Yes, it's important that we secure the border. Very important, as I just said. But China is sending these chemicals to these drug cartels for them to create the fentanyl that is killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens. The Chinese are engaging in an act of war against us, killing our citizens. We better make that priority one in our conversations with China and to try to straighten that relationship out, because if we don't, we're going to lose more and more of our citizens.
I just want to clarify, would you send those people back?
Of course. You'd have to.
We have a lot of issues that Americans care about. Next up, we're going to talk about the crisis in education as millions of American children are not.
All right, we're going to jump on over.
I know everybody's like, somebody just said in chat, there's no American dream anymore. But you know what? This was the same shit going on back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. It just was never transparent. I really don't think that much has changed. To be honest, the drug problem, always been there. Remember the whole war on drugs in the 80s? It's bullshit. It's bullshit. They don't want to stop the drugs. They don't want to stop them. You guys, our own government, Our own CIA was smuggling in heroin and shit, crack. It's crazy. Jammers has some fun fact. A Colombian man once seen as the most dangerous drug lord has been sentenced to 45 years in prison in the U.S. All right, let's see what Trump has to say. Ugh, if we dare. What a shit show. His eyes look really tired.
So do you think the rest of the world looks on at Biden and thinks someone else has got to be running the government?
Well, somebody else has to be. I don't think he's capable of doing anything. Look, when I debated him, I said, how come, and this was in front of probably not a friend of yours, Chris Wallace. He was the moderator.
Globalism, you're so right.
I said, why is it? He wants to be Mike, but he doesn't have the talent. It's one of those
bitchy little man.
He wanted to be his father, but he didn't have the talent of his father was great. His
He's
father,
a little fussy man.
His father interviewed me in 60 Minutes. It was actually a 10. Can you believe
I
it?
know, I totally. His father had talent, at least.
I may have been the only guy that he gave a good 60
You know,
minutes.
I can't watch these two like lick each other's asses either. It's all nauseating to me. So sick of all these wealthy men that rule everything, and it's so fake. I can't take it. So I got to keep it muted until commercial's over because I just can't take it. There's something about values that's been lost in recent generations. I agree with you there. I just think that a lot of things were kept under wraps. I think you thought that people had morals, but I think they were just really, really covert and really, really private. I think privacy is something that existed back then. Maybe not so much family values other than privacy. No internet, no way to be exposed, right? It's just more transparent now. You can't get away with the shit that you could get away with back then. Yikes. I don't know. I've learned a lot, like going back in history. Like we've been working on our new podcast, and it's crazy. All this shit was going on back then. It just was kept under wraps. Yeah, you can't keep anything under wraps anymore. Who's in the Carolinas? No, I'm not. I'm in Florida. Oh, jammers. Your grandpa was World War II, 101st Airborne, and he would be angry at the world today, I bet. When I worked in hospice, I met so many World War II veterans. Not so many, because there really aren't that many that were around still. But always loved and respected them. They really, and that's the shame is that, the people in the military, they love their country. They sign up and they fight for this country because they love it, because they believe in it. But there's a lot of lies that are being told, and it's dirty underneath. It is. It's dirty underneath the surface. Janine says, I wish I would have paid more attention in school. I loved my weed. You wouldn't have learned the truth in school. You wouldn't have learned the truth because they lie. All right, we're back. I could go on and on.
Talk about ending the Department of Education.
You said the Department of Education. But as president, would you still have a responsibility to fix this crisis as we see it?
Absolutely. The decline in education is one of the major reasons why our country is in decline. We need education in this country, not indoctrination in this country. And in Florida, we stood up for what was right. First, we had schools open during COVID, and a lot of the problems that we've seen are because these lockdown states lock their kids out of school for a year and a half. That was wrong.
Yeah, we didn't do
stood
that
up.
here.
I took a lot of fire for that. I was pilloried by the media, but I stood for our kids. And as president, I'll stand for you and your kids as well.
I liked what he did during
We have
COVID.
to make sure that what our schools are doing is focusing on solid academics. In Florida, we eliminated critical race theory from our K through 12 schools. We eliminated gender ideology from our K through 12 schools. And we have elevated the importance of American civics in teaching our kids about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. As president, I'm going to lead an effort to increase civic understanding and knowledge of our Constitution. We cannot be graduating students that don't have any foundation in what it means to be an American.
Mr. Ramaswamy, Mr. Ramaswamy, hold on, Senator Scott. You've said that the Department of Education, the FBI, the ATF, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the IRS, the Department of Commerce, many of these should not exist.
That's correct.
So to the education question, how would you deal with the crisis?
So look, we have a crisis of achievement. Let's shut down the head of the snake, the Department of Education. Take that $80 billion, put it in the hands of parents across this country. This is the civil rights issue of our time. Allow any parent to choose where they send their kids to school. End the teachers' unions at the local level to allow public schools to compete. And then revive our national identity where every high school senior should have to pass the same civics test that, frankly, every immigrant, including my mother, had to pass in order to become a citizen of this country. And the fact of the matter is, look, there's a part of education policy that also rests with the family. I didn't grow up in money, but you know the word privilege gets used a lot. Well, you know what? I did have the ultimate privilege of 2 parents in the house with a focus on educational achievement. And I want every kid to enjoy that.
Robin.
So part of the problem is we also have a federal government that pays single women more not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house, contributing to an epidemic of fatherlessness. And I think that goes hand in glove with the education crisis as well, because we have to remember education starts with the family, and the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind.
I agree with him.
So, Governor Burgum, Governor Haley has said
Kids
that
need both moms and
biological
dads.
boys playing in girls' sports is the women's issue of our time. You said that even though you signed a ban on this in North Dakota, that there hadn't been one instance where it was actually needed. Are you saying that you think that too much is made of this issue?
No, I'm saying in North Dakota, we made a priority of protecting women's sports, and we've done that in our state. But I would absolutely do that. But I do think when we start talking about education and we think that we're going to have a federal government one size fits all, we're just completely losing track of the fact that education differs by state. Some school districts are doing a fantastic job, some less so. But the idea that every school district, state, and every teacher is somehow indoctrinating people is just false. You know, when I was building a company from scratch, you know, with small town kids, and we went, you know, grew up in a town of 300, but we built a global company in 132 countries with over 100,000 customers. We listened to those customers. We spent time with them. We talked to them. We did that. And as governor, well, education is one of the biggest part of a state budget. So as a governor, I shadow a student. I don't, the night before I find out the student finds out, I'm going to go to every class with them. I don't sit and lecture school districts how to do it. I go and see the experience. And there's a lot of things that have to change.
Robin, you have a lot going on, honey.
In education is it's innovation. We're doing it the same way we did it 50 years ago with innovation.
We're here to keep you up to speed, Robin.
The Department of Education. I would give block grants to schools, but I'd give them on merit based on who's doing the most innovative. I just got done holding the 7th annual Governor's Conference on Innovation Education. You should see what the people are doing when you cut loose the red tape, get the burden off their back. They care. Teachers in this country, the vast majority of them care about those kids. They're working in low-paying jobs, and they're fighting for those kids and their families.
Governor Haley, you said that this is the women's issue of our time.
First, I'll tell you, as you know, as a parent, the one thing you want is for your child to have a better life than you did. And we can talk about all of these things, and there's a lot of crazy woke things happening in schools, but we've got to get these kids reading. If a child can't read by 3rd grade, they're 4 times less likely to graduate high school. So we need to make sure we bring in reading remediation all over this country. We need transparency in the classroom because parents should never have to wonder what's being said or taught to their children in the classroom. Parents need to be deciding which schools their kids go to.
This
because
is
they
weak.
know best.
Her argument's
and
weak.
Let's put vocational classes back into the high schools.
Yeah.
Let's teach our kids to build things again.
Yeah.
When we do that and we allow that innovation, that's when it'll get back. And yes, I will always say I'm going to fight for girls all day long because strong girls become strong women become strong leaders, and biological boys don't belong in the locker rooms of any of our girls.
Another point on education.
We're going to start the lightning.
By the way, when I ran for governor, I ran on exactly this, bringing trades back into high school so you can graduate functionally at 18.
Answers, please. President Biden will be 82 years old on Inauguration Day. Nearly 70% of Americans say that he is too old to serve. Should presidents have to pass a mental and physical test in order to serve Vice President Pence?
Yeah.
Well, it might be a good idea to have everybody in Washington, D.C. pass a mental and
I agree with that.
Yes. Yes.
30 seconds. No, the American people can make those judgments. But let me say, I'm running for president of the United States because we don't need a president who's too old, and we don't need a president who's too young. We need a president who's been there. We need a president who knows how Congress works, how the White House works, how states work. And on this education issue, Martha, I was fighting against No Child Left Behind when Republicans were doubling the Department of Education. I'll also shut down the Federal Department of Education. And when I was governor, we doubled the size of the largest school choice program in America. And we'll give school choice to every family in America when I'm in the White House.
This is a lightning round, Mr. Ramaswamy. I think you were mentioned there. You're
Ooh,
38.
it's the
You're
lightning
on the stage.
lightning round.
You've said, and you just said, you want a civics test or public service for those under 25 to be able to vote. So the question is, do you want a mental acuity test for presidents over 75?
Welcome back,
I believe in the
Casey.
people of this country to tell the difference between somebody who's an automaton and somebody who's actually a thinking agent in the White House, which we don't have in there today. And I will tell you, I want to address Vice President Pence's comment. I think we do need somebody of a different generation to lead this nation forward. Look at the way I've run this campaign. Going to the south side of Chicago, to Kensington, in the middle of Philadelphia, where traditional Republican candidates don't go. We have an opportunity to build a multi-ethnic working class majority to deliver a landslide. And I'm the only candidate in this race, young or old, black or white, to bring all of those voters along to deliver a Reagan 1980 revolution. We're going to do it in 2024.
Same question to you,
in a presidential election until
I will answer that. I will answer that.
30 seconds.
30 seconds, quick answer.
You guys have to get control of this debate.
I cannot.
We're getting control of the debate. This is a lightning round, not rolling thunder.
What?
Governor Hutchinson, you have 30 seconds.
What
on the
is
same
going
question.
on here?
On education, first of all, look at Arkansas. We have to compete with China. I built computer science education. We led the nation in computer science education, going from 1,100 students to 23,000 students taking it. This is how you compete with China. As president of the United States, I will make sure we go from 51% of our schools offering computer science to every school in rural areas and urban areas offering computer science for the benefit of our kids, and we can compete with China in terms of technology.
Thank you, sir. This is going to go to this is coming to you. We're trying to do a quick round of different topics here. So, Senator Scott, faith is on decline in this country. You talked about it a little bit before tonight. So, is there a role for a president of the United States in changing that? What would you do to change that?
Well, our nation was founded upon the Judeo-Christian values that has made this the greatest nation on God's green earth. I'm a big believer in Ephesians 3:20 that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or imagine. Our responsibility should be to model the behavior we want others to follow. On education, the only way we change education in this nation is to break the backs of the teachers' unions. They are standing in the doorhouse of our kids, locking them into failing schools and locking them out of the greatest future.
Absolutely, crime solver. You're fine.
As President, Governor DeSantis, would you support some mandatory military service for all Americans?
I think it should be voluntary. I'm somebody that volunteered to serve, inspired by September 11th.
No mandatory
and
military.
I deployed to Iraq alongside U.S. Navy SEALs in places like Fallujah, Ramadi. And it's something that I think has taught me, you know, when you go in that type of environment, anything you have, your personal agenda, you check it at the door. You go there, and it's about focusing on the mission above all else. And guys come together, and they get it done. And that's how I would view being the president of the United States. It's not about me. It's not about all these other side issues. My sole focus will be on your future and reversing this country's decline.
Okay, now for something a little out of this world, and this is for you, Governor Christie. Do you believe that the recent spike in UFO encounters...
UFOs in the debate?
UFO question?
Yeah, you do.
Come on,
there
man.
You go. No, but okay,
He's
we've
like,
been hearing
what?
a lot of We've been hearing a lot of testimony in Congress, and people are taking
Oh my
this
God, this is
seriously, and
hilarious.
we're hearing that, there are things going on.
He's
and
like
people are aware.
unbelievable.
So, if you were president, Governor Christie, would you level with the American people about what the government knows about these possible
Look,
encounters?
Martha, and especially coming from a woman from New Jersey, I think it's horrible that just because I'm from New Jersey, you asked me about unidentified flying objects and Martians. We're different, but we're not that different. Look, of course, the job of the President of the United States is to level with the American people about everything. The job of the President of the United States is to stand for truth. The job of the President of the United States is to be a role model for our children and our grandchildren. And so whether it was UFOs or this problem of education, and Tim's right, by the way, and I started this in 2010 by going right after the teachers unions in New Jersey and drove them down to an all-time low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFOs.
Okay. Well, coming up, we've got closing.
Quick note, I've been noticing a lot of attacks, not just recently here, but a lot of attacks on Vivek. Not that many actually on DeSantis.
Forum with reaction from all.
Vivek's been in a lot of the debates, so they're going to be back with more, with the last round of the debate.
Okay, so we have one more round left. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but do you guys remember back in the day? Not even back in the day, not that long ago, they would have a debate and they'd be like, okay, it's your turn. And no one said a fucking word while that person was talking. And then the buzzer would ring and then the next person would talk. And they actually took turns. I don't like this yelling over each other, and there's like zero control here.
There'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
But they're counterproductive. So if you chart it out, it's an escalation, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So what's next after, try to put you in prison for the rest of your life? That's not working. So like, don't they have to kill you now?
I think the people of our country don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And I'm not sure I would have said this 10 years ago, but they get it. They really get it. When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life on this stuff.
I can't with this interview, but thank you guys for joining. We have one more round, and just the way they call it, like the lightning round, like Wheel of Fortune bullshit. I just can't believe that UFOs came up in the first GOP presidential debate. Globalism says, now that the government has said aliens exist, I'm not sure I believe in them anymore. Pollyanna, are you having a problem with the member link? Because that link right there doesn't take you to it takes you to the membership. I'm right there. I just clicked the same link that Shell gave you. So that has nothing to do with Patreon. There's no reason why Patreon would even have anything to do with that link. Oh my God. Can you imagine the Democratic debate? So are they going to have the AI Biden up there or the real? Fight me. Look at Jammers. Fight me. I love it. I love it. Good night, Amber. Robin, I hope that everything's going well for you. I know you've been super busy. Meanwhile, the aliens are like, hard stop, ain't visiting that planet. Fight me. I love that little sparring guy. It doesn't work from the phone? Why is there a different one for the phone? Crime Solver, thank you for your super chat. Crime Solver says, I hope the Martians participate in the next debate. They're coming. How long will it take for Joe to fall asleep? Oh, that's gonna be interesting to watch, honestly. He's way too... I can't even believe he's running. Oh, shit. I can't even believe he's running. It is way past my bedtime right now.
Well, yeah, and it's far beyond Cuba. It's all over South America.
Yeah, in the Caribbean.
So we built a thing called the Panama Canal. We lost 35,000.
Tucker kind of gets on my nerves, too. I used to really like him.
Or is it a cigar?
But he's just such a yes man. Like, ooh, he gets so excited. I just can't take it. I just can't take it. Like, he just gets way too excited. Like, no one likes these these people that much. I mean, he may like Trump, but they're all crooked. So how could you like them that much that you get this excited over them? It's like, calm the fuck down. Oh, I know, crime solver. I agree. Oh. Every time Tucker replies to Trump, he's like, like, I can barely stay in my seat. It's like he's waiting for Trump's every little remark. Watch.
Doubled it. And it's one of the most
It's
profitable
so predictable.
things. Anytime it's just incredible, right? We gave it away for $1. China now controls it. They actually control the Panama Canal. They run it. They control it.
China owns
We are
everything.
back to the political debate. Let's get to the final round. By the way, we're getting a ton of emails.
Chris Christie
at,
ate
staff
Chat
at
GPT.
meetkevin.com. Keep them coming. We've got folks replying. So check it out for the bundles on building your wealth. Actual financial advice.
Building your wealth. I'm not trying to sell y'all
or
this
if you have
shit.
questions on house hack, that's staff at meetkevin.com. All right.
Yeah, like a giddy
person
teenager.
who can inspire this nation to a better day. These are 45 seconds.
Here we
and
go.
We begin with Governor Burgum.
I understand why America's hurting. Biden's inflation is choking us. I grew up in a small town. My dad died when I was a freshman in high school. My mom, widow of 3, went back to work. Every job I had growing up was one where I took a shower at the end of the day, not at the beginning of the day. Our cities are less safe because of the fentanyl pouring into this country. Our economy is being crushed by Biden's energy policies, which are raising the cost of every product you buy, not just the gasoline at the pump. One thing that I'll do as president, I'll secure the border. I'll get this economy sprinting, not crawling like it is right now. And I would say that other thing is for sure, when I'm on a horseback in the Badlands of North Dakota, it looks like the horizon is just limitless. And when you can almost see beyond that horizon, you can see that this great country, our future is unlimited. But we've got to focus on innovation, not regulation.
You're done, dude.
We've got to cut the red tape. We got to drive
his
ourselves
mic.
forward. The way we win the
Cut
Cold
his
War with
mic.
China is by growing our economy and through innovation. And as president, I will bring out the best of America. I will improve every American life.
Well, we hope you're back on your horse soon, Governor.
Governor Hutchinson?
Our nation is in trouble, and it's in trouble because of failed
What's
leadership.
new?
And the solution is not 4 more years of Joseph Biden. The solution is not 4 more years of Donald Trump. The solution is new leadership that can bring bold ideas to America and to bring out the best of America. A president's #1 responsibility is to bring out the best of our people. That's what Ronald Reagan did. And he did it with optimism and hope for our country, with consistent conservatism. That's exactly what I bring. As president, I'll bring out the best of America in terms of individual responsibility, building our economy, in terms of securing our border, enforcing the rule of law. I'll bring out the best of America in terms of our national character, our faith, and our hope for the future. Join in this fight, asa2024.com.
Thank you. Senator Scott.
Thank you. I was a disillusioned young man growing up in a single-parent household, mired in poverty. I wondered if the American dream was real for a kid like me. I can stand before you today and say the dream is alive, it is well, and it is healthy. I have the good fortune of a mom who works 16-hour days, making sure we have food on our tables. She taught me that if you're able-bodied in America, you work. If you take out a loan, you pay it back. You commit a violent crime, you go to jail. And if God made you a man, you play sports against men. I'm Tim Scott. I'm asking you for your vote. And if you're in Iowa, I'm asking you to caucus for me. You can go to votetimscott.com for more
Why are
information.
transgenders such a threat to these
Governor
people?
Christie.
There's like 1% of our population that's
Thank you,
transgender.
Brett. Thank you, Martha. Look, everybody on this stage wants to be the next president of the United States. And the
Reagan's
only way
a
that's gonna
racist.
happen is if we beat Joe Biden. I'm the only one on this stage who's ever beaten a Democratic incumbent in an election. I did it in a deep blue state, being outspent 3-1. Beating a Democratic incumbent is not easy. The last Democratic incumbent president who was defeated was Jimmy Carter. And he was defeated by a conservative governor from a blue state who knew how to get results, who stood for the truth, who cared about accountability, and stood strong and hard against waste. Those are the very things that I did in my 8 years as governor of New Jersey, and it's exactly what I'll do as president of the United States. Believe me, the Democrats want some other nominee who's never beaten a Democratic incumbent. I'm the one who can win this race, and if you give me the chance, I will restore our country by winning it.
Thank you. Governor Haley.
Several weeks ago, I dropped my husband, Michael, a combat veteran from Afghanistan, off at 4 a.m. for another year-long deployment. I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings. To
I
go
don't
to a
trust her
country
because she
they've
has
never
small
been,
lips. She's
all
not
in the
trustable.
name of protecting America. If they are
Hate to say
willing
it.
to protect us from there, we should be willing to fight for America here. I will beat Joe Biden, and he knows that. I will strengthen our economy, and we'll bring this inflation
Joe Biden
down.
doesn't know
We
what's
will put
going on
transparency in the classroom.
in the next
We will
room.
secure our borders. We
You
will
don't
have
even
the
know who
backs
you
of our
are,
law
lady.
enforcement, and we will make sure we have a strong national security. And once again, we will make sure we have an America that is strong and proud. We have a country to save. Join us. Go to NikkiHaley.com and let's get it done.
Vice President Pence.
I flashed and said, wow, pretty far out.
Thank you, Brad and Martha.
I thought it was pretty
This
far
evening.
out.
It's an honor to be here. Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad. The disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, the war on energy,
Janine.
runaway spending that launched the worst inflation in 40 years, a crisis at our southern border, an assault on our values and liberties. And the American people have had enough. But I know we can bring it back. But different times call for different leadership. The Republican Party owes the American people a choice. Proven leadership at the national level that knows how to move a conservative agenda forward. We proved in the Trump-Pence years you can turn this country around faster than you can imagine. And I have faith we will
You
again.
like Pence,
Because
Robin?
I have faith in the American people. The good, decent, hardworking, faith-filled, idealistic people of this country. And I have faith that God is not done with
Dr.
America
Melmo.
yet. And if we will renew our faith in one another and renew our faith in him who has ever guided this nation since we arrived on these wilderness shores, I know the best days for the greatest nation on earth are yet to come.
Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy.
I was born in 1985, and I grew up into a generation where we were taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really just the same as Americans, bound by a common set of ideals that set this nation into motion in 1776. And
Health
this is our moment to revive those common ideals. God is real. There are 2 genders. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Reverse racism is racism. An open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to man. Capitalism lifts us up from poverty. There are 3 branches of government, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom in human history.
People
That is
can't
what
trust-
won us the American
they won't
Revolution.
trust him how young
That is
he
what
is, though.
will win us the revolution of 2024. Thanks for letting me introduce myself tonight. Thank you.
Governor DeSantis.
Melba.
Governor.
This is our time for choosing.
We will send Joe Biden back to his basement, and we will reverse the decline of this country.
Basement?
I'm a blue-collar kid. I work minimum wage jobs to be able to make ends meet. I understand the importance of the American dream, and I know how that's slipped away from so many millions of Americans. We'll restore it. I'm a veteran who served in Iraq. I know what it means to put service
Budget
above self.
damper?
I'm also a dad and a husband.
I'm with you.
6'5" and 3-year-old. I understand the importance of protecting parents' rights and the well-being of our children. In Florida, we showed it could be done.
Noel for
I made
president.
promises, and I delivered on all of those promises. 2024 is make or break. We're not getting a mulligan.
Biden's in his
No
mother's
excuses.
basement.
I will get the job done, and as your president, I will not let you down. God bless you all.
Charlie Brown.
Well, we want to say
DeSantis is not just, he's not presidential material, I don't
Thank
think.
you to Milwaukee.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
We will
you,
see on
guys.
the campaign.
Let me give.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you to Meet Kevin for allowing us to stream the debate. Guys, I don't know. DeSantis is a really good governor. I just don't know if he's presidential material. Budget damper dork. Something tells me he's never worked a minimum wage job in his life. I doubt it. They are so far from, they're so out of touch with the average American person, but this was a shit show. Can we go back to the very beginning for a second? Because we missed the very beginning. Is that Britt Hume? Do you guys remember him on Fox? It is. It's Britt Hume. He had his own show on Fox, and it was so boring. They were like, or he'd introduce the show, and he'd be like, "Hello, welcome to Fox News with Britt Hume." He's just as boring looking as he was back then. All right, let's see. Oh, Tucker. Look at Tucker. He's so excited.
Be covering up the death of Jeffrey.
He gets so excited. And so Trump and him are talking about Jeffrey Epstein as if that has anything to do with the presidential debate. Britt Hume. I know you guys remember him.
Elected as a conservative Republican in a blue.
Very relatable, by the way. Very relatable.
None of these people are relatable. Are you fucking kidding me?
By the way, very relatable song.
His lyrics speak of alienation, of deep frustration with the state of government and of this country. Washington, D.C. is about 100 miles north of Richmond.
The hell's talking? All right, I just want to see the introduction part.
It's a choice. We need to send Joe Biden back to his basement and reverse American decline.
He said basement in the beginning.
And it starts with understanding we must reverse Bidenomics so that middle-class families have a chance to succeed again. We cannot succeed as a country if you are working hard and you can't afford groceries, a car, or a new home, while Hunter Biden can make hundreds of thousands of dollars on lousy paintings. That is wrong. We also cannot succeed when the Congress spends trillions and trillions of dollars. Those rich men north of Richmond have put us in this situation. And finally, we need to lower your gas prices. We're going to open up all energy production. We will be energy dominant again in this country. I showed it could be done in the state of Florida. I pledge to you as your president, we will get the job done, and I will not let you down.
Okay.
Powerful open there by DeSantis.
Oh, powerful.
Christie, do you agree with Governor DeSantis just said there? And why would you be better on the economy than him?
Melmo, neither side gives
I
a
do agree
shit.
predominantly with what Governor DeSantis just laid out. And I think that if you asked every one of us up here, that we would agree predominantly with what he just laid out. Here's the difference. The difference is that we're going to have
Gabriel.
to work
Thanks
and
for
make
coming
sure
in.
that we sell these ideas. And be able to put ourselves in a position where we get a majority of the.
I can't. I want to hear this dude.
Late for people. You're 38 years old.
38.
You've said that you
Too
only
young,
voted
they
in
won't.
two
I
presidential
don't think it'll
elections
fly.
before this moment, this political race.
Wow.
So first, let me just address a question that is on everybody's mind at home tonight. Who the heck is this skinny guy with a funny last name, and what the heck is he doing in the middle of this debate stage? I'll tell you, I'm not a politician, Brett. You're right about that. I'm an entrepreneur. My parents came to this country with no money 40 years ago. I have gone on to found
he sounds like a MLM, I don't know, like one of those evangelists. Robin says, don't ever post a meme of Hunter Biden in a Speedo on Facebook because you'll be put in jail. I just can't even believe they brought up, number one, transgender in that ordeal. That should not be even an issue in a presidential debate. Are you kidding me? First of all, transgenders are 1% of our population. Why are they even talking about it? Why are they so threatened by that? It's like, what the fuck? I mean, let's talk about more important issues, in my opinion. Anyways, I don't know. This guy he's too teethy and too fake. Yes, thank you, Dr. Melmo. He should be selling cars in a Rolls-Royce dealership.
billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apurva, raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. That is the American dream. And I am genuinely worried that that American dream will not exist for our 2 sons and their generation unless we do something about it. And I do think Brett is going to take an outsider, because for a long time we have professional politicians in the Republican Party who have been running from something. Now is our moment to start running to something, to our vision of what it means to be an American today. If you have a broken car, you don't turn over the keys to the people who broke it again. You hand it over to a new generation to actually fix the problem. That's why I'm in this race, and we're just getting warmed up.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that he could end up being Trump's running mate? Yes, it does remind me of the get rich real estate programs. Exactly. Or like prepaid law or something. I think it's giving hormones to teenagers. But they're not talking about teenagers. They're talking about like sports and stuff. I just think that televangelists, there you go. But he's saying what people want to hear, right? So anyways, it is late, guys. It's 10 after 11. Thank you guys for joining tonight. And tomorrow at 3 p.m. we have a premiere of the next Howard Blum thing on Idaho 4. And Brian Koberger waived his speedy trial today, guys. So that is going to be probably years, which is really, really, actually really sad. Brian Koberger's an asshole. That is nothing new.
Brian Koberger.
And I don't care for either side. I don't care about Republicans or Democrats. I think they all suck. I think none of them care. I think they all are disconnected from what is really important to us. But I want to thank you for joining. God bless America. Let's roll the credits. Have a great night. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists for more true crime content. And if that's not enough, you can join our Patreon. Don't have a tinfoil hat? It's okay. We'll make you one. It's that easy. See you guys in the next video.
See you later. Bye.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 I don't give a damn.
idiot.
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Is it one Jennifer or two Jennifers?
Hi, Jennifer.